And in the Impact segment tonight, as we reported last night, the NAACP and 3 far-left internet websites have joined together to monitor the Tea Party for any racist stuff that may happen. Now, I said that was misguided because anybody could show up with a stupid sign. There are dirty trick squads everywhere. Joining us from Washington, Hillary Shelton, director of the NAACP's D.C. Bureau. Now, Mr. Shelton, do I have a point on the dirty tricks deal? You know, if they know that you guys are looking for this stuff, they being people who want to discredit the Tea Party or want to cause mischief, they could just show up with the sign and then you guys are going to go, see, we told you.
Well, if that did happen, you're absolutely right. However, a good way to think about it is if you go back to what the NAACP has asked of the Tea Party, it's simply for them to repudiate those kind of signs. It doesn't make any difference who's carrying them. So if it's somebody that's actually a legitimate member of the Tea Party, they ask them to stop, then that's just fine. If it's somebody that's actually planting that sign, the same thing's true. The bottom line is whether they are liberal or conservative, if they're carrying racist signs, if you ask them not to, if you repudiate the messages coming from those signs.
All right, well, let me read you what happened.
Exactly what we're asking
let me read
do.
you a dispatch. This is April 210, the National Tea Party Federation. This is a letter to the Congressional Black Caucus, right? It says, quote, the Tea Party Federation does not and will not tolerate any form of racism, violence, or hate speech. In fact, the charter explicitly rejects the same, and its membership rules specifically require that each member and its leadership comport themselves accordingly, unquote. So you're asking them to do it, and they did it in April. So why the continuing beef?
Because it continues to happen.
All right, now give me an example.
They don't want it to happen.
From April
Yes.
to September, give me an example of what you say is racism, what happened. Just give me one very clear example.
Well, the closest thing we've seen so far is we saw a T-shirt at one of the rallies that says some things that are really problematic. So indeed that we're seeing some changes in how they're doing business. Now, in many ways,
what did the T-shirt say, and who was wearing it?
I do not know who the person was. It was a male, seems to be 40-ish, perhaps even early 50s.
With all due respect, because I admire
Yes.
you for coming on this program, you're going to tell me that in a 6-month period, you found one T-shirt from a guy you don't know that said something offensive, and that is enough to have your organization put its prestige and weight behind a campaign to dig up racist stuff? One T-shirt?
Bill, I appreciate you raising it like this, but don't forget, it's part of a full body of evidence. And this was one particular case after they were made aware that everyone was watching.
But nobody could possibly control that.
We saw one T-shirt.
Nobody can control it. You guys can in your organization.
As a matter of fact, we do the same. We have to do the same thing. Repudiation simply means that you have to separate yourself from the message. If the Tea Party wants to continue to move forward, as they should, and very well have every right to do so, they have to make sure they recognize that for some reason, some right-wing extremist types, some racist types have decided they are fertile soil for them to be able to advance their message.
They've already done that.
And they have to continue to do it.
So they have to do it every hour, on the hour, every day, every week. Look.
Just as we do, we have to do it all the time.
Okay.
We do it consistently. We're an organization that works and moves every day.
I'm seeing a double standard. Here's a double standard. Let me give you this. You know Reverend Jeremiah Wright, right? You know him?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, he spoke at an NAACP dinner. He was invited, he spoke. You guys listened to him.
Right.
All right,
That's
now,
right.
Reverend Wright says that the United States government created the HIV virus as a means of genocide against black people. Now, that's hate speech. You invited the guy to the dinner. All right, explain that in the context of a T-shirt for the Tea Party.
Well, let me say first, that is not hate speech.
It's not an unfounded accusation that the U.S. government created the AIDS virus to kill black people? Come on.
If he said that indeed that somebody was less than normal, someone was inferior, that someone else was superior, that somehow or another someone was less human, that would be hate speech. If he said that because of your race or your gender, there's something about you was less than human,
you consider yourself a patriot and loyal American, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to challenge you on this, and with all due respect. You invited a man, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who accused your government, of creating the HIV virus to kill black people. And you're going to sit there and tell me that's not a racist statement? Certainly it is, sir.
It is not a racist statement, as problematic as you might find it. Bill, I think you should look up the definition of the word racist. It might help you understand what is racism and what is not.
Accusing the government of fabricating a disease, not fabricating,
yes.
Wrong word, creating a disease to kill black people, and you say that's not a racist statement?
It is a racially insensitive statement. Race requires power plus
prejudice. And you invited
prejudice.
This guy to speak at your dinner.
I did not invite him to speak.
The NAACP did.
Dinners.
The NAACP
yes,
did.
Now, let me say a couple of things. There are people that have concerns of some of the things the government has done in the past. I think we can point to everything from the Tuskegee experiments to a number of other things.
Can't do it.
But those are times gone past. Now, I've seen no evidence that proves it very well that the U.S. government was involved in any way in advancing the HIV virus. But there are people that believe that.
It doesn't matter.
Now,
there are people who believe a lot of
crazy
crazy things. But what I'm trying to do, Mr. Shelton, and again with all due respect, is saying that you're holding the Tea Party to an impossible standard while the NAACP has some problem of its own in that area.
How is it impossible to hold the Tea Party to the same
one guy
standard
wearing a T-shirt, one guy wearing a T-shirt who you don't know doesn't mean anything.
I'm not saying, I did not say to you we set up ttrackers.org to monitor one T-shirt. What I said is we set up ttrackers.org because we saw a history and a full body
but the history
of
in the last 6
across
months
the country from the very beginning until now.
All right.
And that's why we began doing this.
All right, Ms. Shelton, we appreciate you coming on the program.